Wait, what do you... Huh? Oh. Oh, my bad. No.
Hello and welcome back to ECS. We've had an interesting day so far. We've got our second Contenders division match on its way, SNPEEK versus Speechless. Earlier we had a bit of a rocky start. Aqualix didn't really get off to the best of continuations from their rocky start to the season, and Rocket managed to take 2 maps off them. One by winning and then one by default. So yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes, and that's why we've had a break. But we are here for hopefully a much better game between Speechless and SNPEEK. I'm Jerry the Music Man. This is Gireffro. I'm delighted to be joined by you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, this is the first time we're casting together.
Yep, it absolutely is.
Yeah, I'm an American caster, obviously, with my accent, and I'm going across the pond. I'm going across the way to be here, so I'm extremely excited for today. You're right, though. We have a good match coming up for you. It's going to be SNPEEK and Speechless Academy. So what we know about SNPEEK, what we know about Speechless Academy, it is a little bit earlier. You know, it's about, I'm not actually quite sure. I think it's about 5 matches played for each team. I'm looking at the league standings. So actually, I'll say about in the middle of our league right now. And so, kind of, things are starting to solidify, right? League standings are starting to solidify. Things are going to get harder for teams to improve, teams to gain more points over others. And so, SNPEEK, they're still going to be looking to do that. They're going to be looking to get an above Paragon Esports in the league standings. Currently, they're at 5th right now, and they're looking to get 4th. They're looking to go above and beyond what Paragon Esports is, and they're going to be going and looking for getting 3rd place in the league standings. That'll be coming up for them, though. But Speechless Academy, definitely towards the bottom of the pack, right? They're 7th out of 8th spots in this league, and honestly, they've had a little bit of a rough start. I mean, they haven't had all too many wins. They've had, I believe, 1 win, whereas they've had 4 losses. They've had 5 games played total, so not all too good of a standing lineup for them. But again, they're going to be looking to improve today. They're going to be looking to gain a little bit more of a leg up in this competition, and doing that so against SNPEEK will definitely be their first step. Now, with the league standings being a little bit more solidified, they very well may not get top 4 or even top 5, but the point here is to bring somebody down with them, and that's going to try to be their attempt at granting SNPEEK that that opportunity, I guess. We'll say that. But community predictions are going to be coming up here. We got a 67% win for SNPEEK. So we have the community. They've spoken, and they're pretty confident in what SNPEEK can do today. We're going to be going on to Oregon and Club. I know I didn't talk about that all too much, but you could take away the operator points from me.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah, Oregon the first up, and we've got already our attacker bands coming through. They're going to be Thatcher and Ace. Fairly standard so far. Surprising not to see Maverick or Hibana, usually the more sort of often chosen of attacker bands, but Ace still has quite a lot of power in that utility, the Selma. Let's not forget he also brings smokes and the incredible AK-12, so a loss to any team, really. Well, am I going to be banned? I wouldn't be surprised to see Kaid be the final one off the board. He's so influential on Oregon. Just locking out the hatches on the bottom floor can be absolutely pivotal, especially with the Thatcher on the board. It can really waste a lot of time. If we do see the Kaid make it through the bans, which we will, then expect to see a fair amount of him in play. Instead, it's going to be Mirror that gets taken off, and also a very powerful operator, so no real surprises across the board here from my perspective. I do look forward to seeing an Oregon with a Kaid, though. That is a rarity.
Yeah, it definitely is a rarity. We see the Wamai being picked off instead. Honestly, I'm going to say that I don't really like these bans. I don't really like them. I think they're a lot more favorable in the way of the defense than the attack. You know that Thatcher is down, you know that Ace is down just as well. You still have Abana up on the board, so she still has the ability to get off those hatches. But the issue here is that there's still the Kaid up on the board, so you still really have to find your way around that, and you have to be able to take out those electro claws on the hatches. Now, that is not an easy feat of its own. That wastes time for SNPEEK, that wastes time for the attackers, and it's not really something you want to be doing in a round. But we're not even going to be going downstairs. As we see, the top floor is going to be the first objective to be elected, so Habana most likely will be coming into play to get off those main walls, but regardless, we won't be seeing all too much hatch play yet.
No, we shouldn't. And I think this is actually the first time I've seen any of these names in action in terms of my own perspective casting the game. I think I haven't had the opportunity to cast either SNPEEK or nor Speechless so far this season. So I'm hoping they can provide me with a good amount of entertainment, and you know, everyone else watching, of course. That'd be really nice. I'm not just here for my own benefit. Although many people may think so. Floater is sitting in small tower, or big tower right now, rather. He's going to be a very early line of defense here for Speechless. This is a very aggressive position to be pushing, and if he's not careful, he might find himself caught out. There we go. He's locked out from the green hallway retreat. Now has to opt for downstairs as his fallback plan. Luckily for him, though, the flank cover isn't there, and Sebson, though he knows that Jaeger is sprinting away, can't do much about it. That drone's just whistling in the wind as the Jaeger falls back to sight here.
Yeah, and I mean, now that the tower has gone in the way of the attackers almost seamlessly, it allows them to, in so much less time, mind you, gain control of the wall, gain control of the entire tower and the area surrounding it, thus the attic, right? Then you're going to have the meeting available to you, and you're going to have downstairs available to you as well. So a whole lot of rotations for the attackers that have been locked down, but it could prevent a lot of rotations for the defenders, or in a way open them in the case that the defenders want to roam and want to try to find a line or an opening in the attack. But we really are going to have to watch out for that as Flota. He's still on the prowl, right? He's still roaming. He's still trying to get some picks for himself. So in the case that he is able to do just that, he may very well have a grand impact on this round. We're going to have to watch for that. But now attic control has indeed been conquered by the attack. Twitch, she'll be dropping down to bottom attic. That's a really aggressive stance to take. And now the attackers have completely controlled attic. Being that those walls are reinforced, it just grants them the opportunity to shut down the rotations for the defenders and thus limit their, well, rotations, limit the area which they control, and now close in and pinch them from other areas surrounding the objective.
Yeah, the speed of this attack is quite staggering, really, but it's got to be said that Speechless kind of offered up that ground somewhat. So they, you know, if they fail here because they can't waste time effectively, then it's their own doing, and we're going to see the start of an execute here as Jagaiza comes in and takes out Zero. He's already got control of the games, and he pushes down, takes out the White Stairs retreater, and there's another shot almost finishing off a player in the rotate, but he's finally down, and Gaps will finish off that kill. Sebson, though, is sticking the diffuser in default. But look at this flank from Floater. He's managed to take down one. Tonic refrags, and now Floater gets a second. It's a 2 versus 1. Floater's still got this winnable, but the attackers, they managed to rally. Lumpers just shuts him down. No hope on that retake, really, for the Jaeger. After he got a few too many kills, really, than, you know, more than he should have been allowed. That was a very clean execute for the most part from SNPEEK. They gained the first round of this matchup.
You know, one thing I didn't like, and I hate being negative, to be completely honest with you, but one thing I really didn't like about that defense was the fact that they reinforced those main attic walls. You don't normally see that. It's not a very often reinforcement, and what happens when you do that is that it shuts off a whole lot of angles that you could be holding, a whole lot of area that you could be controlling as a team, and thus it allowed the attack a very quick entry into the site, and from there they were able to very easily individualize the defenders, gain the one-on-one engagement, win those out, and simply gain control, right, of the objective, force Jaeger to have to make a really quick rotation back to the site. Of course, it was unsuccessful. He was caught doing so, and it was, how do I put it? It was not a good move on part of Speechless to be reinforcing that. Yeah, it wasn't, because then SNPEEK, they saw that and they took advantage of it. They gained the engagement, they gained the player favor, and it was such an easy round from there. Yeah,
right now SNPEEK have absolutely set the pace of this matchup. We saw even just the setup alone from Speechless spoke to playing scared. The very fact that you reinforce that wall means that you're not willing to contest anyone that does take control of attic, and you're just willing to give it up quite quickly. Like, there was no one even really playing that position for Speechless, and it looks like at least this time they do have it opened up, and they have Berserker as well, sitting up in the attic himself, looking to deny the position. He's got one Electroclaw in pocket, so I think he plans on possibly tricking this double wall here. And Floda, again, playing aggressively in Big Tower, but he's moving back a bit sooner. This allows him to rotate through Meeting instead now, which is something he maybe have wanted to do last time. And he's going to be lurking in Garage, trying to go for a peek onto the Big Tower itself. Doesn't find anything, but as long as he stays alive, makes himself a nuisance, then that's good work by him. And he was the real difference maker. He gave them hope in the last round. So we're going to see if he can turn things around at the start this time. No, he can't. Nix is going to shut him down very early on, taking a bit of damage, reacting well to that run out from the Jaeger.
Yeah, unfortunate as it is, that is your chief roamer off the job. He's been unfortunately killed, thus giving the attack a whole lot of map control and a little bit more map control for them, as now Berserker's going to go down. And now, once again, the attack has control of Attic without even having to breach the wall. I'm a little bit speechless at this. This is a really weird attacking round. Definitely a bit of a fault from the side of Speechless to be opening this up for the attacker so quickly in the round. I mean, Floda, unfortunately, his roam was completely ineffective, and now it opens a line up for, well, I believe Yogg. I have no clue how to pronounce that, but we'll say the Twitch to get some kills of her own. Unfortunately, she does get killed in the process of doing so, but it's still a 4-on-2. It's still a player deficit for the side of Speechless. They only have 2 players up. It's Smoke and Valkyrie, and mind you, Smoke, he doesn't have a whole lot of health on the board either, so he's gonna have to play really passive. He's gonna have to take his engagements extremely sparingly, and now the SNPEEK, they're starting to close in on the remaining players left up, so this could be a very horrible situation for Speechless to find themselves in, though. C4 is gonna go down, and Seltro, he'll be taking that kill. That's a triple for him, is now it's a 2-on-2. Odds have been dearly been evened out. That's a great equalizer for you. Gaps, he'll get the Mossberg kill, and Lumps, the remaining player left up on the board, is going to come in, pistol whip Gaps out of all people. And Seltro versus Lumps is going to be our final engagement to be seeing. 28 seconds left on the clock. Intensity is gathering. You have 1-player games, and you have 1 player peeking from Attic. It's going to be the Zofia stuns to go in, making the rotation all the way down to dorms. This could be huge in the case that Speechless doesn't understand exactly where that Zofia is walking. She's going to have to get the defuse down, though, or get the deathmatch. It's going to be the defuse is what she elects to do. An attempt to bait out the Valkyrie. Seltro taking a little bit of damage here. Oh, my word. Could this possibly happen? Lump taking the aggressive engagement and winning that one out. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is SNPEEK to win out round 2.
Lumpers just tearing it up right there. It was a bit tense at the end. Came very close, but played that beautifully, holding onto the diffuser, rotating into a place where he could plant by big window, baiting out the aggression from the Valkyrie, and then Valk's movement's just not quite up to the task of surviving there. Bit confusing as to why he decided to stand in the doorway and maybe not rotate into Attic, exposing yourself to some harsh angles there in that situation, but maybe wanted to be close enough to take down the Zofia should she decide to hop back on the diffuser. So it's a real difficult kind of tug of war in that situation, but yeah, Lumpers just playing that beautifully in the 1 versus 2. I really want to give a shout out so far to Joggizer, or Yogg. I don't know exactly how we're supposed to say his name. I'm going to stick with Jog, but that's just maybe my English preferences, who knows. He's been so effective on the entry so far. 2 rounds where he's gotten a double kill on the entry as a Twitch. We see him rotating over to the Maverick now. Hopefully he'll be just as effective with that M4 in hand, but my word, he has been absolutely brilliant for SNPEEK so far.
And yeah, the F2 with the hollow really loves him. It's just a kill magnet for him.
Yeah.
It really is.
They come right to him.
Yeah, they just, the kills love him. Yeah, I have to ask you a question, though. I'm gonna have to pass this on over to you.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think that the roam from Jaeger, although ineffective, could have proved to be entirely fatal and thus a round-winning play on the side of Speechless, in the case that it was round-winning?
It's a difficult call,
or in the case that
really.
It was effective.
It's a difficult call, really, because when it comes down to a round like that, you look at the operators and the players that were left alive, and Nix certainly had an impact on the first round, don't get me wrong, but if you take down that Ashe in that situation, I don't, you know, he didn't really have much of an impact further. So on a purely personal level, when we're just looking at the players involved, I don't know if that run out would have been entirely worth it. But, you know, you never know whether you're going to pick up, you know, the key fragger or someone who might not frag that much. Either way, I think it's fairly moot because they won. And getting that early frag was definitely a big part of that. Lumpers is the first to fall here, and look at this, Neox completely aware of Floda above him, gets the better of that flank yet again. Neox versus Floda goes in the way of Neox. Celtro taking out that Yana hologram. I do love Yana, I'm playing a lot of her lately, as is Teutonic, and that extra intel she gathers is just so vital, but right now, in a 4 versus 4, they're going to need to find some kind of opener here, SNPEEK. They've been successful in doing so in the past, and it's usually fallen on the shoulders of Joggeiser.
Right, I mean, SNPEEK's ability to find the break in the line of the defense from Speechless is definitely a unique one, but I think they could totally do it, right? There's usually a lot of lines broken open in the side of Speechless. I mean, we saw that on top floor. We saw that, well, 2 rounds of top floor, I'm gonna say. And SNPEEK, without fail, has been able to open up those lines, has been able to exploit them and win rounds because of it. So I have no doubt in their ability to do so again, but Yogg, unfortunately, is going to be taking the rotation all the way through the hatch into E-Box, get killed off of it. Bad engagement for him, but a really brave one at that, I'll give it to him. So now 3-on-4 as the kill deficit falls in the way of, well, now 3-on-3. We see Nyx, he'll pick up one for himself with the R4C, and now you have the Yana and the Ash. Open, oh my word, Habana though, Celtro going down. Oh, jeez.
That was questionable.
That was an interesting one. Yeah, that was questionable, definitely. But a freezer engagement will ensue as 0 goes down to Nyx. The man on the triple kill, solidifying himself as the MVP of the round, coming out with the pistol whip to secure this 3rd round of the attack on SNPEEK's side.
Nyx clearly heard me earlier saying that he didn't have too much of an impact. My own mighty have an impact on that round. So far, it's been just incredible stuff from most of Speechless. Most of SNPEEK, rather. Everyone's stepping up. There's not a single round that's gone by where I haven't been able to praise a particular player, and this time round it's Neox. He took that round and he turned it on its head. It was really a sign of how much Speechless was struggling on the top floor, that they couldn't keep hold of very key positions like Attic for very long. I have written down 1 minute 23 Attic control for SNPEEK, 1 minute 43 Attic control for SNPEEK. It got quicker, and then this time round we were looking at about a minute left on the round. The defenders still have Pillar, they still have Blue. That's a really good stance to be in. There was an attempt for an entry from Joggeiser at one point, dropping the electrical hatch, and he just got demolished. And at that point, I thought, well, that's pretty much game over for SNPEEK unless something magical happens. And something magical did happen. Nyx managed to get a 4K, and that was just wonderful from him. Something else, though, did stick out to me, and you heard my reaction to it at the time. Celtro running out of Blue into construction, trying to get that kill onto the player behind barrels. I don't think he really needed to do that. The defenders were in a good position at that point. I believe it was a 3 versus 3. They still held important key positions like Pillar, like Blue. There was barely any pressure elsewhere. It ended up falling on Nyx to go for a weird kind of solo freezer push. And yeah, I think if Celtro doesn't run out in that situation, then we end up in a 2-1 split, or 2-1 scoreline. But right now it's 3-0, and we're returning to dorms.
We are indeed returning to dorms, and we know that the previous 2 dorms rounds that were premiered on the side of Speechless did not go in their favor. But I think a lot of that is really on part of the fact that they were playing way too passive. It's almost like the second that structured aggression gets played against them from the side of SNPEEK, everything goes awry. Right? They just give up their positions, they allow SNPEEK to gain map control when it's not needed, and thus, Speechless has to fall back, right? And eventually, there's not going to be anywhere for them to fall back, and that's exactly what ensued, right? SNPEEK, they started getting more and more aggressive, taking more and more map control, and then it forced Speechless up against walls. It forced them up against in the tiny sides and corners of the objective, where they fell prey to the wonderful mechanical skill of SNPEEK, and thus, they won out the round for it. So, So far, it looks like that's what's going to happen again, is now Berserker, he's unfortunately going to have to, yup, Yogg, coming in from the meeting side, but Berserker and Floda, unfortunately, are going to have to give up their positions via death. So that was not a good look.
That was a perfect example of tunnel vision there. The holographic sight just completely blocking the Maverick, so that was an absolute freebie for Jog. Now we've got ourselves a 3 versus 5. And again, attic control super quickly. So much utility in the hand of the attackers. I think Speechless have to do better on these defenses, but we'll see whether they can put it back. They did make a fight of it, to be fair, in the second round, but this is looking even more cut and dry than that was. Neox finding the gap and finding gaps. Seltro now left with 0 to try and deny this. Sebson is already sticking the plant inside of Kids, and Seltro goes down 0 now in a 1 versus 5 clutch scenario, but he can't do it. That's a flawless round for SNPEEK. Textbook, they just get better and better at these Dorms pushes.
You know, I feel as though Floda found himself and tends to find himself in these really awkward positions that he can't necessarily get himself out of.
Yeah.
And it's either do or die. You know what I mean? Like, it's either you try to get a kill and then you die, or you die and you die. It's unavoidable. Like, an engagement is absolutely unavoidable, and that's the issue, because Floda has so much map control and so much area to work with that, frankly, he could be making these engagements for himself. He could be putting himself in the driver's seat and taking control of what the attack is trying to do. And frankly, I just feel like he's not doing that. And thus, that's not contributing to the advantage of Speechless, right? It's rather contributing to their downfall. It's contributing to their disadvantage. So realistically, you need somebody who at least is more consistent on the roam, right? And I know I've been talking about this a lot, but I think it's such an important part of Oregon, because the second that the roamer goes down, it's free real estate for the attack. There usually is only one roamer on the side of the defense, and once that person is done, it is done. It allows SNPEEK to take control of the areas surrounding the objective and thus pincer the remaining players left. And with SNPEEK's ability to frag out and knowing they have really nice structured mechanical play, it's over for Speechless.
I think that the counter to that argument, and to lift a little bit of the weight off of the roamer's shoulders, is that there's a bit of a disconnect right now, at least on the top floor holes. We're actually seeing a different philosophy on this bottom floor, which is really, really nice. But on the top floor, it seems as though the anchors are sitting in their kind of final positions right at the round's beginning. And what they should be doing in a situation like this, on the top floor of Oregon, is supporting their roamers, right? You need someone, if you're going to be sitting inside of Kids for the whole round, apply a little bit of pressure onto the, the green balcony by peeking from Kids' window. If you're going to be playing attic, open up that hatch, support the guy that's roaming in meeting. Offer that support instead of having this kind of, like, hollow scenario where you have a layer of roamers, followed by nothing, followed by a layer of anchors. And the problem is that when SNPEEK fall back or die on the roam, they don't have anyone covering those sort of buffer rooms. So it's just a very, very quick push. Here, though, we see the exact opposite. And this is why Speechless might, if they take a round on this split, I think it's going to be a basement one. Because they looked solid in their setup. It was just the execution that lacked something about it last time round. They are spread out. No one's actually in any of the sites right now. We see Seltro making a bit of a rotation through one right now. But they're all extended. They've got this layer that they need to force SNPEEK to peel back.
And I mean, going back to your disconnect point, you see Floda, he's still on his own. He doesn't really have anybody who can rotate on over and help him out in the case that he does not have any support with him. Like, I'm not impressed with it. Frankly, I'm not impressed with it. I'm not impressed with the individualization of Floda, because with him, it's either a hit or miss.
Maybe on another day,
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but maybe on another day he hits those shots, Like, it could just...
I mean, yeah.
But it's kind of one of those things you don't want to leave it up to chance, right? You've got to give the support for the times where your roamer isn't hitting their shots. And Neox has been fantastic so far on both the roam clear, the flank cold, etc. And we see him just exemplify that right there once more. Taking down Floda again. The one thing going for Speechless this time around is, again, they have that time control. They still have burnt up quite a lot of time, and to be honest, even though they lost Flodo on that flank, on that roam rather, we've still got 40 seconds left. Jogeyser manages to take out an anchor, in fact, as he pushed all the way into Laundry, and they have side control. Zero at least zeroes out the difference, but Jogeyser puts him in the dust, and we've got ourselves a 4 versus 2 here.
Right, another ATK, or the attack, should I say, of SNPEEK, refragging on for the player of Malusi. Really nice play from them, by the way, but steps in, he'll take the opportunity to plant, being aided by Yogg, or the Mav, we'll say. Tonic, though, he picks up one with the ARX, and that is one more player to have to go, and there you have it. And for collecting its kill, or headshot, should I say, for Celtro, getting another round win for the attack as we now go on to the last round before a roll swap in a 5-0 upset.
SNPEEK's attacks are fantastic. I've got to say this. We've been framing a lot of this as Speechless having, you know, some sort of lacking area in their defenses, and sure, they're not perfect, but it's impressive that 5 rounds in a row, SNPEEK have managed to read into their setups and find those imperfections and exploit them to the fullest.
Oh, yeah.
Those basement attacks, they find themselves stuck in the tower and blue pushes, and they really can't actually get through them very effectively. We haven't seen it happen once, but SNPEEK recognize this, and they send players over to Freezer. They send players, in this case, over to Laundry. That was another fresh adaptation that we didn't even see in the first basement attack from SNPEEK. So they are, you know, thinking on their feet, and they're working really hard to draw this, well, to put the scoreline up 5-0. That's really monumental from them.
Yeah, and you know, I think what a lot of teams genuinely lacked is the adaptability factor. Mid-round, reactivity, proactivity, whatever it may be, that's really what, how do I put it? That is what splits T4 and T3. The ability to adapt over one another, the ability to say, oh, this is the play that they're making, this is what we should do in order to counter. And I feel like at SNPEEK, they have that adaptability factor about them. You're totally right. They have that ability to be like, okay, this is what Speechless is running, this is what we should run in a counter to that. And they have those fundamental skills, they have that fundamental ability to do so, and that is such a powerful thing to have. Not only that, it is a little bit on part of Speechless, right? They haven't been able to adapt to what SNPEEK is giving them, they haven't been able to keep up with it. They've been playing all too passively, and I feel like if there was a little bit more pushback, if there was a little bit more confidence when it came to the hold of Speechless, this would be a very different proceeding. It would be a completely different game. That's what I'd have to say about that. But regardless, we're going to be getting into round 6. We're going back to top floor. Again, Speechless has not won a single, especially now that they are on top floor, a site that you said arguably probably wouldn't go in the favor of Speechless. It doesn't seem like it will be. Yeah, I saw that. It was the one tap for Celtro's head. Absolutely amazing on the rappel. Holy.
Oh, that did things to me. Celtro can go sit down, really. That's gotta hurt for him. I was going to say that Speechless have adapted quite well here. They've decided, you know what, we're going to turtle up, we're going to play things safe, we're not going to hold any risky angles, we're not going to over-peak and try and give, you know, SNPEEK that advantage early on. But when you're hitting shots like that, it doesn't really matter. Celtro is a situation 5 versus 4. SNPEEK have the advantage, and with a minute 20 left, they have attic control.
We do indeed have out of control. We've found ourselves in this situation before. Deja vu is what I'm gonna call it. Is now the N4 coming out to capture its kill, double kill. Oh my word, for Yogg, he's just going off. This man is an MVP. He is a legend among men, a world eater, if you will call it that. But a 5-on-2 is Tonic, picks up one for himself. That's an ARX kill for you, and Zero and Berserk are the remaining 2 players left on the board. Tonic picks up Berserk, but it's still going to be Zero. He gets one for himself, but unfortunately Nyx finishes off the kill feed. And again, another round win for the attackers. 6-0 at the match point roll swap.
A perfect attacking half from SNPEEK. You read it being their map pick. usually that doesn't really matter when it's Oregon. Every team should have a good Oregon up their sleeve, but they are showing true dominance here. They only need one defensive round to collect 3 points to start off their day, and they will absolutely want that because they are, as you mentioned at the start of the broadcast, pushing for that third place spot. It certainly looks within reach given the performance that we've seen so far today, and given the sort of the strength of the teams in Contenders Division at the moment, we see, Makers Academy and The Last Resort, two incredible rosters, and they're being vested in the standings by Rocket Gaming, who have just come out of nowhere. Like, the quality of those top 3 sides in particular, and towards this latter half of the season as well, Paragon have been putting up good showings here and there. The quality of this division is really something to behold, and you've got to be thinking, all of these major division teams have got to be quaking in their boots. PG Tips in particular, as they're sitting at the bottom and look like they're most likely to have to face one of these in a relegation match. But not only that, 4 of these teams, the top 4 in Contenders, will go through to the playoffs. And, any one of these could take it. Honestly, they're all impressive. SNPEEK, if they do manage to find that 4th spot above Paragon by the end of the day, and, well, 3rd spot as well, above The Last Resort, I should say, they can consider themselves in and among that sort of collection of teams. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for any of them. Our observer is just telling me one of these will take it. One of the Contenders Division teams are going to take it. I am not too disinclined to... Wait, I'm not inclined to disagree, is what I'm trying to say.
Disinclined to
disinclined to agree?
Disinclined to agree? Yeah.
I'm not disinclined to agree.
Okay, we're warming up. Stop it.
Yeah,
right.
It's fine.
Alright. Well. Getting on to this, and as I say this, oh my word, my headset is screwing up. Give me just a moment.
I think I just heard the little Windows disconnect sound, unfortunately. Yeah, that's a tail in a little sound effect there. I'll give you a moment to find yourself.
I'm good.
Right, we're back. We're back in action.
I'm good. I'm back.
Amazing.
But the thing I wanted to talk about, the thing I really wanted to touch on, is the fact that we got word from our production. We're talking about it even mid-game. The fact that SNPEEK, they're not as good, or we'll just say they're not as good. They're not as good.
I don't think, as harsh as that is, it is 6-0. So I don't think they can take that out of context and hold it against you, really.
No.
Yeah,
I
continue.
wanted to say they're not as structured, let's say, or organized, we'll say, on their defense. So Speechless, they very well, in the case that they're able to make 0 mistake, that they're able to get everything done right, could very well win these rounds out and potentially, not saying that'll happen, but potentially close things off and get us to match point or even get us to a draw. But again, that is way in the future. I still have to say, though, y'all going down, huge fragger for the team of SNPEEK. Not a good look, not a great start, not a great transition to this round of all things, but still 1 minute remaining on the clock, and Speechless have yet to even get to the bottom floor, with the exception of Floda, I believe. Now it looks like they're going to be taking a very lateral bottom floor push in the way of either Freezer, or I believe in the way of the main stairs. I'll say the main stairs, but Lumps, he picks up 1. That's a headshot for him. Great one at that, as I believe the player of Gaps was proning, so not sure what's going on there. Celtro picks up 1 of his own. 3 on 4 already, and oh man, crossfire angles coming out. Lumps picks up a double kill for himself in the response to such an aggression. Sepson and Lumps, the remaining players left on the board, is now Speechless. They're moving in, they're closing in on the players of SNPEEK, but it's still a double kill for Sepson. This is still a very winnable situation for him. If the Mossberg can come out clean, it could be a win, and yes, it is. It is a win, and it is a round 7 knockout. Hey yo, ladies and gentlemen, for a 7-0 victory of SNPEEK, a dominant one over the players of Speechless Academy.
And, well, they knocked the words right out of Speechless's mouth. They didn't get a say in any of that. Sebson coming up huge at the end there. Nix with the MVP screen, but Jogeyser as well picking up the most kills in that map with 11 and 4. A brilliant KD for him. I want to highlight Sebson because he had a quiet game up until that point. I said at one point during that match that everyone on SNPEEK is taking the opportunity to step up. I think that was in round 3, and I was just thinking maybe there'll be a moment for the supports. And, you know, Smoke, 1v3 clutch, that's exactly what was on the cards. A brilliant individuals team performance from SNPEEK. It was almost every round one person stepping up and making the difference. Jogeyser had probably his lion's share of those, always trying to make the entry. He was a real playmaker in that game, even in that final round, going for the kind of Hail Mary C4 at the very start. It was, you know, risky, and we saw him make a lot of kind of risky plays, dropping in through Electrical Hatch, for instance, as the Maverick at one point and just getting demolished. But, you know, whenever he failed, the rest of SNPEEK stood up and they turned it around. So, yeah, brilliant stuff from them. We have to hope, for Speechless's sake, that we get a bit more of a showing from them over on Clubhouse. Maybe with the fact that it's their map pick, we'll see just that. But we are going to have a short break before that game, so do stick around. We won't be long. And yeah, that's about it. Go get yourself a drink. See you soon. Okay, everybody, welcome back to our Contenders Division Playdate number 6. This is, well, almost the end of the run for these teams. SNPEEK have already managed to gather one map in this best of 2. They swept aside Speechless with a ruthless 7-0 on Oregon. Let's see if Clubhouse will have a similar story or whether Speechless can fight back for some points today. I'm Jerry the Music Man. I'm joined here by Giraffaro, who is going to take us through the bands, aren't you?
I am going to take us through the bands. Well, we see that SNPEEK, they're on the favorable side on this map of Clubhouse, and that's not necessarily a good look for Speechless. I mean, we didn't get to see a whole lot of their attacking rounds. We only got to see one, in fact, being that it was a 7-0 sweep for SNPEEK. So hopefully we'll get to see some attacking prowess premiered from them today. But Maverick, and thus Monty, is going to be the two first operators off of the board, and that Thatcher is thus left up on the board. SNPEEK obviously expected Speechless to be taking out Thatcher, and of course, they went with another band. They went with Monty, and now Mira's going to be our third operator off, and now that Thatcher is up on the board and is available to use, that's going to put a lot of stress on the defenders to waste a lot more time and potentially use utility to do so, like area denial operators such as Malusi, such as Goyo, such and such. And then Wamai, of course, he's the last operator off. And, of course, to no unexpected avail, right? We saw the SNPEEK, they did take out Wamai, I believe, last game as well. But like I said, Thatcher being on the board is going to put a lot of stress onto SNPEEK in order to waste enough time and in order to get the picks that they need to finish off the round before the plant goes down. Because with Thatcher on the board, it's going to allow for very easy opening of walls and thus a very easy entry into the site.
It certainly is, and you expect to see him pretty much every round, especially with Maverick gone. He's going to make things a lot easier. Thermite, the hard breach op of choice for Berserker. Interestingly, only going with the single hard breach, but no, as I say, that Gaps is going to 6-pick from the Nomad to their partner. A wise choice, in my opinion. You definitely want a couple of hard breaches for any site attack, really, on Clubhouse. It's just the way to go, right? You've got so many possible angles to open up, so many approaches, especially for a cache take. You want to be opening up as much as possible. You want to open up the server wall, possibly construction wall, definitely apply some pressure from garage as well, down the bottom. So that calls for multiple hard breach utility. Filling out with a Zofia and Ash, exactly what we're expecting in this current meta. Maybe that will shift around a bit with the new patch coming through fairly soon, but we have yet to see. On the defensive side of things, we've got the Bandit, and this is absolutely a good option with the Maverick gone. You actually have the option of doing some Bandit tricking. Yes, you heard it right, folks. We might hear some Bandit tricking today. It's a rarity nowadays, but I do like it when it happens. It's a forgotten art form, I feel like, in a lot of comp play right now.
It is. It is a forgotten art form here. It's a very ancient art form.
Since the dawn of time. It was never even intended in the game. You know, the devs they designed Bandit, and people discovered that you could do this thing, and it just became, like, sort of a big component of high play, and now they ban it.
True. It's definitely an interesting take on the way that teams can innovate, right? The idea of bandit tricking and the idea of being able to get off utility on the wall just as it is starting to heat up. It's starting to blow up that wall, but yet it's a really cool thing. It's a really cool thing, and it's a thing that's been used, not recently, but it's a thing that has been used in the meta, being that Kaid is now a pretty prominent player that does so in the place of Bandit, but unfortunate as it will be, getting back into this round, we got round 1 going on, and Nyx, he will not be droned out. That's a really bad misinformation for the attack, and there you have it. That'll be the collateral of such. Celtro going down to the MP5 headshot, and the patience. But in a refrag scenario, you got Flota, he picks up Nyx. So that's some of your roaming operations down, and there you have it. The attack gains more map control.
That was tragic right there. You see how the drone was part of his victory right there, and then it was his undoing afterwards. Just flicking to shoot the drone by the feet of Floda, just as Floda rounds the corner, allowing the Ash to get the frag onto the Melusi. and now we're back at a 4 versus 4. So any advantage gain will have gone. But obviously removing the Zofia from action is a big boon, as those Banshees will continue throughout the round, whereas her lifeline will not. So 4 versus 4. Floater's taken some pain in his direction. So has Jog, but we finally see this CCTV wall being opened up. Jog not in a position to trick. Those batteries just sat there idle and disabled by the EMP. Zero will get a pickup through that breach as well onto the Rafters player, but Joggeyser, having taken up that position, refrags onto Zero. Gaps finds Tonic, and now we're in for a 2 versus 4 with a player at the top of red and a player in Rafters. These are strong positions and plenty of utility as we see the C4 go out, but still we have toxic gas canisters in play. The first of those will be sent out, and Floater looking to push up red stairs at some point to apply pressure onto this final anchor position.
Attack getting a little bit too aggressive. Yogg's going to take advantage of that, picking himself up a double kill. It's already a 2-on-2 scenario. It's Speechless. They're beginning to close in from the side of construction, not the main wall. You got Yogg, unfortunately, going down to the player of Abana, and there you have it. Gap finishing it off on Sebson with the Bearing 9. Great SMG and a great use for the attack.
Excellent. Hibana, really the operator, just showing how effective she can be with that, you know, second primary of the Bearing 9 in hand, emptying the mag into the player by Rafters, but it doesn't matter when you can whip out another fully automatic weapon and take down the final defender. Lovely stuff from, I believe it was Gaps on that attack to seal the deal for SMG, and with the SMG, he manages to find the first round for Speechless today.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly a testament to the theory that SNPEEK can't skate their way through these rounds like they could on Oregon by just using mechanical play to their advantage on their defenses. Again, we only did see one round on the defense of SNPEEK, but there was a lot of scenarios where their attacking rounds were won that way too, where they were just able to barrage the site and bulldoze through with their mechanical ability, not necessarily having to utilize the very slow-paced utility play, utility burnout that we normally see on the side of Oregon. So just kind of something to keep in mind, you know, something to analyze over the rounds. But, oh boy, again, this is the first round for both games that Speechless has won.
Yep.
A single round. Because we know that there was a 7-0 stomp out for SNPEEK on the first map of Oregon, and now on our second map, round 1, it becomes Speechless to win it out. So already they have themselves prepped and primed in a really nice scenario. And honestly, I can't, how do I put it? I can't commend them enough. They had a really nice second round.
They need to turn it around, and that's a good way to start. I think also from the 2 attacking rounds that we've seen out of Speechless, they've looked bit more solid. It did come down to a very close clutch, let's remember, for that final round on Oregon. So maybe this is the start of something good from Speechless. Maybe they are just more comfortable on the attack, and maybe Clubhouse is the place where they can prove it. We've got a lot of drone work going on, and they're being deliberately very thorough about this, considering the nature of the opening kill in the previous round. Absolutely what is needed for Floater to be moving in here with, well, he's still cautious. I was going to say with the confidence that he has. He's aware that Jog is playing very close. This is that playmaker that we mentioned in the previous map. He's always looking for that opening pick. But Celtro is the one that's going to get it onto Sebson elsewhere. Losing your smoke this early on is not great. Jog guys are holding those impacts on the Valkyrie, the more recent addition. Noteworthy right here is that Sebson fell down inside of dirt, and that means that dirt control in the hands of the attackers. Joggeyser finally falls to the Ash, pushing down main. Floater looking a little bit worse for wear, but he does come out on top in that engagement. He's going to be able to clear this utility with his trusty breaching round launcher. In fact, that first one's going to get caught by an ADS, I believe. Second one is successful in detonating that Vulcan shield of Tonics. But we see a 3 versus 5. Still plenty of time for Speechless to get this execute down.
Right, and a good round so far that they've come upon, as now they have a 2-player advantage. Unfortunately, a 1 as it gets lowered by the player of Lumps, and I believe it was Dirt. Not quite sure what was going on there, but Thermite does unfortunately die, and Lumps will be living to see another few moments. 1 more minute left in the round, and you have Ash on bottom. Main, she's trying to look through any type of kills or shut down any type of rotations that she possibly can,
Oh,
though
no.
she's finally going to be moving into Moto, taking the opportunity to try to hit Church. Tonic's going to be sitting there, and he'll be the first line of defense to hit with the Vector out of all things, but still sitting there with that Goyo shield. The Vulcan shield is going to have to be Ash to burn that one out, and you have a lot of these players, a lot of these attacking players in very powerful positions. They could very easily collapse on the site and make good round for themselves in the case that they're able to mechanically win these gunfights. It's really going to come down to that, though, as there's not a whole lot of utility to be utilized left from the attack. But again, they're going to have to go ahead and do it. They're just going to have to do it. Now, Celtra will be taking the first pick here. He'll be unfortunately going down from the side of Dirt, but Zero, he gets the diffuser down, although Tonic gets a kill with the Vector. Naps picking up a headshot for himself is now a 1-on-2. Lump's getting a double kill. Still a 1-on-2, but Zero got the diffuser down. He's sitting in the backside of Church, but he does unfortunately get killed, thus giving the round to SNPEEK.
Wonderful retake there from SNPEEK. It was looking a little bit dicey as the diffuser did get down successfully, but ultimately that was a very strong hold that they put up, despite losing some players in 5 versus 4, going down to a 3 versus 4. They played their positions very well, it has to be said. There was no answer to the Goyo shield placed inside a Church just by the rotate into blue, and it allowed the defender to play right behind it. Goyo himself, I believe it was Tonic, just sitting right there in blue, holding that position, making sure no one could push through Moto. In the end, it was a push through the, well, limited breaches that had been dealt onto that Church wall. And I say limited because it was the Hibana that still had some of those pellets in pocket, managing to open up a few walkable holes and a line of sight to the plant spot. And that's pretty important because early on in that 5 versus 4, Berserker was still up as the Thermite, and he got picked off. If the Thermite doesn't die in that situation, I think that that is absolutely an attack round for Speechless, because suddenly you've got the ability to flood in through Moto, or through the Church wall. You don't have to sort of, you know, pussyfoot your way around it and actually take control of the site proper. It just looked like they were a little bit lost in the post-plant hold, and you could see it in that final kill. The Thatcher just sitting on the plant spot, having a few too many awkward angles to worry about. For instance, the sight line right next to him. In retrospect, not the best thing to open up for the Hibana, but, you know, hindsight is 2020, and you know what they say about 2020, it doesn't really count, right? We're forgetting about 2020 at this point in time. 2021 is where it's at.
Funny.
Thanks.
Funny joke. Very funny joke.
You don't have to humor me. Like I say dumb things. It's something.
Yes,
yeah.
very funny. Funny joke. I'm laughing.
Thanks.
I'm laughing right now. Internally, of course. No. Lumps, he's gonna pick up the first kill in the round. Celtro, unfortunately, falling prey to what I believe was either the bullet hole peak or the elbow hole peak. And oh man, the 416 carbine coming in strong. Fortunately, it was just Celtro. He could not foresee the spawn. Normally, you really can't, because you just walk right into it, but he just his ankles, and I guess that's the biggest downfall of beginning around lineups, and just oh man. But we'll be getting into this round. It's really going to be on part of the defense to not give up their lives in the attempt to be extremely aggressive, and that could be a very big issue. As now you see Flota, he'll pick up one. That's next going down for you in a peak that he definitely should not have engaged himself in. You did not have to peek off and box, but yet you did. Question is why? You could have been passive, you could have allowed Flota to attack you, but you instead try to do it yourself and you get punished for it. You really cannot be finding yourself in those situations, and I feel all too often the defenders, they replicate that situation. They find themselves in those types of situations where they just get all too aggressive, and Speechless, they're not stupid. They know how to counter it. and they know
They're
how to
gonna
get
look a bit
past
stupid
it.
here,
But
though.
yeah, it'll be lumps. I'm like eating my words right now because
Yeah.
they're just getting killed off of really stupid things. Anyways, Abana going down to lumps once more. Kill for him in this round. Zero and Berserker, the last remaining players left up on the board. You still have a Thatcher and you still have a Thermite, the combo respectively. I think they could get a whole lot done with that, right? The EMPs and the charges of Thermite up dually, but it won't be Thermite to be up in the remainder of the round. Zero will be moving in, and he just gets shot out by a peak. A swing, we'll call it.
An SNPEEK, if you will.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get used to that. I'm very, very sorry. So that was a weird round from Speechless. I have to admit. I have down on my notes, they have construction control within the first minute. That's, on the face of it, really impressive. You shouldn't really be allowed to get that control so quickly. Apparently, no, sorry, I just got thrown off by something in our live chat there. But the reason that they had that control is because they skipped the checklist. There were still roamers. There was still a lot going on that they hadn't really secured. You know, they forced their way into logistics, seeing that it was clear, and they made their way through into construction, getting an opening frag. After that, they didn't have any kind of lock on the flank. It was a very, very easy flank for Lumpers to make up main stairs, and he catches the Hibana completely unawares. Jogeyser, I believe it was... No, sorry, it was Sonic again. Fighting from inside of the site, taking down the Ashe, who had breached her way into construction as well. Means that suddenly, you know, all your presence is gone there. It just felt like they kind of forced their way into step 2 when they hadn't done step 1. And you can't just skip step 1. This is a flat pack piece of furniture, Clubhouse, so you need to, you know, do all of the things in the instructions, otherwise your table's going to fall apart.
And, you know, I feel like you can hit step 2, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate against you real quick. I feel like you can play step 2 in the case that you have the positioning of the roamers locked down. And or if there are no roamers, right? You just are able to skip over dealing with the roamers entirely. And I feel like Speechless could have done that. They could have not had to deal with the roamers entirely in the case that they had flank drones and they had their backs watched, but they didn't. And they allowed a really huge line to break in the backside of their defense, and it allowed SNPEEK to get in. And of course, SNPEEK, they're a team. They're going to take advantage of that. They're a team that knows how to deal with those types of things. They know how to get into the back line of the attackers, and they did so beautifully. You had Lumps. He picked up a nice feed for himself, and thus, Speechless, the pressure from construction was shut down. You do not want that during a round, especially when you have control of it so early. But now, we look on to Gym Bedroom. We look on to Gym Bedroom for SNPEEK to finish out their defensive rotation, as now the attack has opened up Jacuzzi. A little bit of drone is going to go down for the attack, as now, unfortunately, Nyx. Whole fall, I'm going to say Nyx fallacy will fall Floda. Nyx fallacy will fall Floda.
Yeah, I think the fallacy might be an old, that's an old org, right? That's their old tag. But yeah, Floda's gone, that's the bottom line, right?
I was trying to make a pun, but...
Oh,
it didn't work.
Okay. I didn't get it. Don't worry, I also don't get jokes as well. I tell too many and then I don't get them. So, right now, we're looking at gaps. Well, he's a bit of a gap in the attacker's lineup because he's been downed outside and should be res. Here we go, he's going to continue the rest of the round with 20 HP, but it's still a 4 versus 5 for Speechless, and losing Floda early on might cost them. I found it quite funny that Nukes decided to pump a few extra bullets into Floda's body just to make sure, but, you know, maybe he was really, you know, angry. He just had to get it out of his system. Celtro is going to equalize things, though, as Jogeyser goes down. That's a C4 gone, and those can be very impactful on a Gym hold later on in the round. And we are getting quite late on in the round, so Speechless will be considering their execute. Gym can be a bit of a kill box, though, so they will need to flash out anyone inside of Bathroom, and in particular, this player inside of Master Bedroom. But Nukes is going to spring into action and take down the balcony player. A lovely frag sailed in from the hatch of Logi. Is going to find Tonic, though, as Zero gets a refrag as well, and we're in a 2 versus 3 all of a sudden. Only one drone available for the attackers, and that is in the diffuser carrying hands of Berserker. Zero will fall. Nukes tagging up him and felling him. Now we're in a 2 versus 2. Flashes come through, but he's choking on the Gaps. Gaps is going to try and worm his way into sight, but with only 13 seconds left, Sebson's got him on lock. Berserker does fall to the player in construction door. He gets felled, but Sebson springs into action, takes him out, and again, we see this smoke clutch up huge for his team. 3 defensive rounds in a row now for SNPEEK. They've completed that perfect circuit.
They have completed that perfect circuit, and with no time, no bodies, and no health to spare. That's really something to analyze here because of the fact that we saw last time in Oregon that, like I said, the defense was able to skate along these rounds without having to come up with a really structured hold. They weren't having to come up with that extremely complex type of strategy, whereas they're able to use their mechanical ability instead. And again, that's not something that you're going to want to fall back on at all times, because when you have an ultra aggressive team, it allows those types of lines to break, and it allows for the attackers to get in on your defensive strategy much easier. Now, the attack going back and forth, unfortunately they weren't able to win it, but for how long is this act going to keep up? For how long is this facade going to keep up for the defense, or for the defense, where they're able to control the tides?
You've been visited. We have a visitor in the stream.
Oh.
He's just sitting back there. Sorry, I've just lost all ability to function as a human because a cat has appeared on screen.
I know.
This just happens to me. It's lovely to see them right here. What's the name?
Lonnie. He's a big fat. He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. Nice. Well,
no, he's popping up. Oh, he's scratching himself.
Lovely. Okay. I've got a cat called Stanley. Stanley is the name of my cat. Black cat. Anyway, let's move back into the game. Not just yet, because we're waiting on a player. But talking about the game at least, we've got ourselves a garage defense probably coming up right now. Let's talk predictions. Let's talk what Speechless in particular need to do to make this garage attack slightly more successful than last time. Because last time wasn't all that bad. They actually managed to get a plant down. The only problem was SNPEEK were fantastic on the retake. How do we think Speechless are going to line up? Do we think that we're going to see them adapt? And I think that is probably the biggest question, because there was a certain lack of adaptation from them on Oregon.
No, I don't think I'm going to see them adapt. I'm playing grounded here. I'm not being optimistic as casters normally should. I'm being extremely grounded because I saw the entirety of Oregon. I know it wasn't their map pick. I know
we were
they
there,
probably had a lot of issues, and we know that they were essentially just lost. It was a 7-0. Come on, they were lost. And SNPEEK, they took full well advantage of that. They knew what they were doing. They knew what Speeches was doing, and they still stomped them. They still did everything in their power to stomp them. And I think that in itself is a comedic move. But what's not so comedic is the fact that Speechless Academy, well, they were able to win a single, at the very least, single round on their attack when it came to Clubhouse. I'm winning on their defense because I'm a little bit more hopeful for that, being that this was their map pick. But their attacks, they haven't been all too adaptable. They haven't been very adaptive when it comes to their attacks. They haven't really been switching things up. It's been a big strategy game for them, being that Clubhouse is open the wall, get in, try to make the plant, try not to get killed in the process. It's really stagnant when it comes to strategy in general. So not switching things up isn't necessarily a bad thing. It really just comes down to the gunfights. It comes down to the firefights and the individual plays, how each player can catalyze and execute, and frankly, how the defense can stop that and waste as much time as they possibly can for the attack. Now, the defense, SNPEEK, they've been doing really good in that because they've been playing extremely aggressive. Instead of putting up utility to stop out Speechless and forcing them to burn out their utility, they're actually taking their own persons or bodies and blocking them from getting into the objective. I mean, in a way, it's a smart move because they know they're more mechanically bound than Speechless is, but at the same time, it's not the smartest move because then if you die, that's one less player that Speechless has to kill in order to get to the objective. See what I'm alluding to here?
Yeah,
So I guess Speechless, they really just have to know how to play around that. They have to know how to play around the really aggressive mechanical play, and they have to know how to play with a little bit of strategy and pace as best as they possibly can.
A harsh, but given the current standing, I'd say fair assessment of the thing that we're watching right now, which is a little bit of an SNPEEK walkover. I hope that Speechless can prove us both wrong, because I really want to see a good action-packed game here. And I'd say that one piece of advice to them so far, what's been plaguing them the most, I think, on their attacks, has been an inability to get drones into key positions and guard against flanks. Okay, we saw a flank basically define the round on the cash attack and on the gym attack. The peek from the server window across into the balcony just completely derailed the execute just as it was about to take place. And again, is it a similar story to Clubhouse Ring? Have looked strongest on the basement attacks. Right now, we're looking at Floater at the bottom of main with 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the board. This is good ground that they've gained right here, Speechless. So they can certainly move forward with some impetus. Of course, they're looking for an early pick at some point. They may want to get Kitchen Hatch open next. That should be their next port of call. They certainly have the utility to do that, as Gaps is spending some Habana pellets on that right this second. But Floater will fall, just trying to find that early pick themselves. Your guys are taking out Celtro as well. It means that all of your soft destruction has gone. No Zofia, no Ash, and in the blink of an eye, Speechless, they're looking like they are lacking a lot of what is needed to get a successful take going right here.
I mean, yeah, now that you have 2 soft breachers down for your team, you don't have a whole lot of control over the rotations that SNPEEK can pull on the bottom floor. That's really important because now Speechless doesn't have another factor going into their advantage, and that's not really good when you already don't have a whole lot of factors going into your advantage, right? You have a lot of disadvantage factors. You don't have control of any part of the bottom floor. You don't have the control of the player advantage. You don't even have control of the health from what it looks to be. You have Gaps, he's down in his health, whereas all players in SNPEEK, they're 100 right now, so not a whole lot of good things going for them, but one good thing going for them could possibly be the fact that Church will be opened up in the coming seconds. I believe it very well might get Impact Trick. No, unfortunately it will not, as now the attackers are sitting on the hatches waiting for the defenders to mess up, make mistakes, and try to peek when they shouldn't necessarily be doing so. Thus, they'll catalyze their push off of doing just that, getting the kill off of a defender trying to, well, be a little bit too aggressive, as now Velt goes down, and there you have it. Most likely the attack will start moving in just from that kill, from what it looks to be. Now you got Zero, he'll pick up a kill from the Jaeger trying to peek all the way from blue, but oh no, Tonic trying to come in and be the savior of this all, but unfortunately he won't. Zero's gonna pick up a triple kill as Sebson and Zero are gonna be going at it single-handedly, but it is Zero to capture that round, and attackers gain the 5th one and shutting down the momentum of the defense just as.
That was just so heart-stoppingly close. 2 downs in the final few seconds there, and that almost saw a complete victory for SNPEEK, and it would have been a 4th round in a row. Somehow Speechless managed to put together a semblance of an attack there as a 3 against 5 defenders. That is very impressive, especially when a lot of those little interactions were really not going the way of the attackers. The first one that really made the difference was Berserker managing to get that breach off onto Church Wall. And I said it about their previous attack onto the basement, where they managed to get the Habana pellets onto the Church Wall and create that walkway there. I said if it was a thermite breach going down there, then that would be a Speechless round. Instead it was Habana pellets, and they had to be it was a little bit kind of dicey. They didn't have the maneuverability around that wall that they wanted, but they actually did what they didn't manage the first time around. They flooded into Church and got the kills. They got the plant down, and it was just wonderful from them. I think it was scrappy, but they pulled together a round that they desperately needed on this attack. 2 attacking rounds on Clubhouse is huge, right? They now have this game certainly within their grasp, especially if they want to try and especially if they get this next one, then they could turn the tide in their favor. I like what Noah's just highlighted for us, that one, our wonderful observer, that little hole that just above the garage door into lounge, providing a sightline for the anchors to stop anyone pressuring Jog here, so he can actually actively bandit trick this wall. And now he's successfully taken down one of those sets of X-Kairos. He's going to back off, because he knows that probably going for more is a bit of a risky game.
It is. I mean, it's the early attempt at getting off the X-Kairos, is just trying to limit down Habana and her utility as much as you possibly can, but what's gonna happen now is a refrag scenario. Sebson goes down, but so does Thermite, just as the wall gets opened up. So Thermite, utilizing his ability, not the biggest, most impactful frag to be taken out of the game, but he still did have those exothermic charges available to use, so in a way, still a pretty nice impactful frag. But what's more important is the fact that Sebson went down, and he's your smoke, he's your area denial operator. You don't want him down. You want him to stay up throughout the entire round in order to waste time for Speechless. So having him down, you're gonna have a bigger reliance on SNPEEK being able to pick up the kills. Not saying that they aren't able to do so, but it's going to put them in a really uncomfortable situation when Speechless begins to attack the objective, and they don't really have any defense or areas now to prevent them just from doing so. Now, construction, it will indeed be taken under the wing of Speechless. It'll be controlled by them, and hopefully in the coming seconds, it'll be garage falling as well.
So, Sonic on the Valkyrie, sitting in a position here where he can potentially impact trick this wall, but actually Jogeyes is going to step in and use those bandit batteries instead, a much more reliable way of denying the door when you have it available to you, or the wall rather, but he is going to fall, so now it is going to be part of Tonic and possibly Nyx's responsibility to try and impact trick that construction wall and buy the defenders a little bit more time. We still have a player at the top of red, protected by the shield, that is Nyx himself. Sitting on 8 and 3 is really good for his team. SNPEEK leaning very heavily on his fragging capabilities at the moment. Gaps is just going to sit outside on this balcony on highway, try and open up the wall, creating a sight line and another one for Seltro to try and fire through, but 2 successful impact tricks in a row from Tonic, and that removes 6 of those pellets. In fact, that's all of the pellets left from Gaps, so that construction wall will stay intact for the remainder of this take, and it's forced them to bottleneck through this wall, this doorway, and the push is coming through. Seltro falls to the first kill of Tonic. Lumpers tags in with another. It's just all to SNPEEK right now as they flood through. The attackers of Speechless can't handle the bullets that SNPEEK are raining down upon them, and that's a 4-2 split for SNPEEK on their defense.
Still a favorable split for the side of Speechless, so they definitely have the upper hand in a way going into this, or the favored hand going into their defense rounds, as now they descend to Church and Arsenal Room. What can we expect from the attack of SNPEEK? I don't necessarily know. Do you have any ideas in mind?
I don't know. Well, we've seen them storm to an attacking victory essentially on Oregon, so we know that they have that organization, and I expect that this lineup will try and do exactly what they did. They'll try and find that sort of weak spot, because especially on a basement defense, which is where Speechless are starting things out, there's a lot of options in terms of approaching. You've basically got 5 very viable entryways to site. You've got this kitchen hatch that Floater is reinforcing right now. You've got Dirt Tunnel, you've got Blue, you've got Main, and you have Moto as well. You can even open up Church Wall for a kind of quasi 6th entryway, and we're not seeing any more than one dedicated hard breach on the side of SNPEEK. So they have to be choice when they go for these takes. They certainly want to open some of the default hatches that you will open. You're almost always going to open Moto, as it's usually a freebie. That being said, Berserker, sitting on the side of Speechless, does have those electro claws in pocket. He is playing the Kaid. He wants to deny that hatch for as long as possible. We also have impact in the hands of Zero and Floater. Floater playing a little bit aggressively though on the roam. So kitchen hatch might take a while to open. So yeah, I think that SNPEEK, they have to be choice about the way they take this. They want to find that weak spot, and they need to decide where this hard breach utility is going.
That's going to be a choice that, well, most likely was predetermined by strategy, right? If SNPEEK does have a whole lot of support staff behind them trying to work up their strategy and structure and organization during the round, but Flota, he'll be the player sitting in kitchen trying to make an early pick for himself. This could be absolutely huge in the case that he gets one player off of the window, and he will! That's Habana going down for you, a really influential frag. Beginning of the round, all things. So Speechless already in the driver's seat, already has their pacing down for this round with Habana off the board. Tonic, he'll be the next player to hit this, and he knows that Flota's sitting in meat. So Flota taking a very aggressive peek, but it'll be Tonic to capture that kill with the ARX.
A wonderful gun. I personally prefer the G36C, especially with the buff coming soon to the recoil on Yana, but if you can get the job done with that AR, then be my guest, and Tonic did wonderfully there. But Jog now has another meal on his plate, and it is Celtro that he will gobble up. Finding that Roma, and Speechless, though they gain that early advantage, taking down Sebs and the Habana of all operators. A little bit of over-aggression again from Celtro. We saw it on Oregon, on the basement hold where he ran out of construction. I feel like he may be costing his team a little bit here when they hold a bit more of an advantage than maybe he realized.
I mean, yeah, I really can only agree with you, to be completely honest, because Speechless had that in the bag. Flood could have rotated back down to the objective and gone from there, right? He could have even rotated around on different parts of the map and been supported by Celtro. But like you had said, there's a little bit of that disconnect, especially when it comes to communication, especially when it comes to refrags, that Speechless, they just don't have that fundamental ability to play off of one another. But Tonic, coming up from above, is going to get a double kill, from what I believe. Actually, no, it'll be from dirt. Yeah, it looked weird because we were on
okay, cool. Yeah.
Perspective. Yeah. Well, anyways, Gap picking up a headshot on Yog himself, and Nyx getting the kill with the L85. That remains with 0 to be the remaining player up on the board. But Tonic, yeah, he finishes that one off pretty swiftly.
Tonic just took that round by the scruff of the neck, really, didn't he? He's sat. Well, most of his kills came from outside / kind of outside, if you class dirt as outside of the map. Not really, that's a bit of a stretch. But either way, it was just making those plays. And I think I've got to go back to the point you made about the sort of separation of the roamers from the anchors, because it's exactly what we saw on Oregon. You were right to highlight it. Celtro being the kind of prime case there. Flota, you can justify it. He manages to get the prick on the hard breach very early on, and then you can maybe understand that he jumps into freezer because you expect that a rotate back through the main hallway might be a bit of a death sentence, so why not, double down and try and go for the kill. It was a little bit unlucky that he was confronted with a Yana and had to shoot out the hologram before then peeking onto the Yana herself. But at that point, he'd gotten a pick on the hard breacher, the only hard breacher. He'd wasted time. He'd effectively done the job. In a normal round, you could say he would have won it for his team, right? But SNPEEK, they were having none of it. They just decided, you know what? We're going to take every opportunity that comes our way. Celtro getting a little bit aggressive certainly gave them that opportunity. And now, the rest is history. Past that point, they knew that they had some openings. They knew that they really couldn't commit through anything that required hard breach. The kitchen hatch was a no-go. The bar hatch was a no-go. So it just became a dirt and blue push. And, well, that's all they needed. They had the man advantage. They flooded the bodies in. And they won the gunfights, as they have been doing all day long. So they're sticking to the script. Nyx already breaking double digits. 11 and 4. A fantastic performance from him so far. And Speechless yet to prove us wrong.
I mean, even adding on or piggybacking on your point, Speechless, yes, they have a disconnect between Roamer and Anchor, as unfortunately Nyx taking that kill, going off, like you said, fantastic performance, is not going to prove us wrong. But there's a disconnect between Roamer and Roamer, even. It's like there's a communication disconnect. There should be refrags in the case that Vigil dies. There should be some form of refrag that Jaeger could have collapsed upon, or he could have found himself in. But it just wasn't happening. It was not happening whatsoever. And in an ideal world, it would. In an ideal world, we would be seeing that Jaeger getting the kill, but instead, as a matter of fact, going off at that point, it'll be Flota to gain 2 headshots for himself. He's going to be looking for a third now as Ash swings and a miss for Flota. Yog will be getting a pick with the R4C.
Still in the fight he was, but Jog is going to turn things around yet again. Always a playmaker, it seems, for SNPEEK. And despite Floater's best efforts to pull this back, we are now in a 3 versus 3. I found it hilarious that he twice in a row manages to fell Sebson on the same rappel. It's just that this time he takes a different angle. And getting the second kill on the Neox, the huge fragger, is a big kill as well. We could potentially see a defensive hold here from Speechless in the 3 versus 3. Again, no hard breach opportunities or options, I should say, for SNPEEK on this stack, but that didn't stop them last time. Gaps spending 1 toxic gas canister to try and hold the Moto push at bay, but Tectonic is here in dirt. Berserker seems to be unaware of it at the moment, as he's a little bit concerned with this particular breach hole that's just been made by Jog. Tectonic getting the peek onto Berserker as his back is turned, and now Lumpus has forced his way into sight. Tectonic can begin the plant behind the boxes. Lumpus with the cover onto Zero. It's all down to Gaps on the smoke. He's got that SMG 11 and shotgun combo that we know and love. He's even got the black ice, and that might help him out, as we all know skins equals wins. But he's managing to take down 1 in this 1 versus 3. Pushed his way back into Church, just trying to take pot shots, but SNPEEK are not living up to the name. They are just holding firm, not overpeaking it. Smoke canister goes out, only 15 seconds left. He has to push in, but Lumpers is there with the cover. The crossfire is too strong for Gaps to find his way through, and that is SNPEEK once again claiming a round for themselves. 3 in a row now across the split, and they sit on match point.
You're right, Gaps unable to wade himself through the sea of attackers looking his way. They knew exactly where he was sitting, and thus that is going to be a round win for the players of SNPEEK, and now we ascend to match point. This is a danger zone. This is a huge danger zone for the defense, as now their back's against the wall. They can't make any mistakes, otherwise they're going to be met with a huge loss. They're going to be met with a crushing defeat. But still, I mean, I have hope. I have hope. I have hope. I know I wasn't optimistic in the hope of there being adaptability from the side of the side of the attack, but I still think they could win some rounds, right? Try to at least make it not so crushing. Maybe pad their defeat a little bit.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here now. I'm gonna say no. I'm taking some of your earlier pessimism. I'm wearing it with pride, because this is just how it's been. Like, you look at the performance across the whole day, and Speeches just haven't been up to par with SNPEEK. SNPEEK have been absolutely demolishing them. Look at the trade differentials here on the stats. We've only got 1 player that's going negative, and that's Sebson, and really it's because he hasn't had as much of an opportunity in a lot of cases as a defender, as that kind of last line of defense. Everyone going positive besides him on the attack, and it's, you know, sometimes it's not all about the stats, but right here the stats really do tell the story. And I think unless Floater and Celtro in particular can turn it around. In fact, you know, I'm gonna double down here. Floater's been having a decent match. He's made some impact kills. Unless Celtro can start to step it up with him, and as well as that, the anchors of, you know, Berserker, and I suppose the other anchors are doing quite well on the kills front, but in particular Berserker can step it up and support that play from their positions, then I don't think we're going to see any change in this. I think Speechless are going to be run over. But we have a round commencing in front of us right here. Floater is on the roam. We see Celtro sitting inside a sight, but it's Floater that we're really interested in. So he's trying to burn time, kill some drones, and take down a player or 2 down here in stock.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Floater is either a hit or a miss when it comes to his roam game, and sometimes he's able to pick up really impact frags. Other times, though, he falls flat on his face and he gets killed before he can do anything to relevance. But he'll be rotating on out of stock, making a move for Blue Stairs. He's going to try to stay at least around or in the general vicinity of his team, though, sticking around Blue Stairs, and allowing for himself to make an easy rotation in the case that players begin to die on the side of Speechless. And just that, unfortunately, will not happen. Yogg's going to be going down to the player of Floater, making a quick and hefty swing for the side of Stock. Ash versus Jaeger, and Jaeger wins that engagement. Nyx, it'll be him to get a kill on the L85. Celtro going down as collateral for that. Player with the MP5, unfortunately not doing all too well.
No, he's not, but Defenders still have all the cards in their hand, really. That construction breach coming through early is going to make things difficult, though. Floater's now rotating across it, and it seemed like he was completely unaware that the angle was there, because that's a freebie for Lumpers now. Tectonic and Co can try and push their way in. Neox will go down to the shotgun of this smoke, and he's sending out a gas canister to try and confirm the kill, but the cover is there from Tectonic, and now Zero has to try and fight back. Tectonic going for the res. The call will come that the res is coming through. The C4 sails out, and it will hurt Tectonic, but not kill him. Lumpers collecting another kill on the entry. Tectonic with a second through the window. The down confirmed, and that is it. SNPEEK managed to sweep the board 7-0, 7-2 on the Playday. 6 points in their hands. They managed to leapfrog all the way into third place in the standings. Last Resort and Paragon shuffling down a peg or two, and SNPEEK end the day on 18 points. Sorry.
That's crazy.
17 points. Oh wow, no, it's a three-way tie on the standings. That's interesting. We need to look at the sort of head-to-heads to work out who's actually on top there, because it's a little three-way mini-league, which requires a lot of maths to work out. But it's only temporary, don't worry. There is still another whole Playday next week, and with 3 teams sitting in tied third place, that is going to be a huge one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. It's a three-way tie right now. That's going to be something to dish out in the later play days. But for now, this has been us. It's been SNP and Speechless Academy going at it. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a stop out from the side of SNP. And they had a wonderful performance today, so definitely commending them. Applause to them. But again, this has been us, Giraffe and Jerry Cass. I'm not sure if you have any ending comments, but that is all it for me.
Nope, that's it from me as well. So do come back on the weekend when we have our major matches, and we will see you again very soon. Goodbye.